Hello friends, I'm Chromatic Sauce and welcome to my YouTube channel. Come draw with me. First thing I did for this drawing was Google a picture of pears. Now I've been drawing a bunch of fruit on my Instagram. You can come over there and see it at Chromatic Sauce. For this drawing I was doing a pear, so I just Googled photos of a pear and looked for ones that I thought had a lot of dimension. Now the color didn't really matter. I could have chosen any color pear and changed the color in my drawing. I just got them for the shape and the shading. So while I was drawing this outline, I just wanted to make sure I was pressing lightly with the pencil. I didn't want to leave like deep marks in the paper, and I just wanted to make sure I got the outline all there and all right. Once I was pleased with the outline, I took a kneaded eraser to just clean up the edges. When you use markers over top of pencil markings, sometimes it can either smear the pencil or the pencil will be permanently stained into the paper. I just wanted to make sure I erased a lot of the overdrawn sketch marks. Then I started coloring it in. First thing I did was color the stem. I just chose a brown. Then when I started in on the pear, I chose this nice light yellowy color, and I just filled in the entirety of both pears. When you're coloring in with markers, you want to make sure you do even strokes and that you fill things in, and that helps avoid a lot of the extra marks. You don't want too much bleeding in one area over another. It's not too important for me. I like that rough and edgy look, so I just went in and I did the outlines of the pears first, and then I filled them in going the direction of the pear. Since the pears are kind of vertical, I made sure my lines were mostly vertical. Then after that, I was going to go in to add another layer of depth. So I'm going over the light yellowy color with a darker green color. I wanted these pears to be more vibrant than they are in the photo. So I just chose a really bright green, and I just started putting that darker green where there's darker shadows. This isn't a realistic drawing, so it's really up to you where you want to put those shades. And really, if you wanted to use red, you could use a light pink and red to shade the pears. You can do anything. Just put the darker marker over top of where the darker parts of the photo are. After I was done with that darker, more vibrant green, I went over all the dark area and a little bit of overlapping with a more muted brownish green to bring it down, to add a little bit more dimension with that third color in the fruit. And I just thought it would make it look nice with this color. After I colored in that whole area where some more shadows were, to add a mid-tone, I used that same color to speckle on some texture. Pears have these dots all over the skin, so I just dotted on with that marker before I picked up an even darker green to speckle in darker dots in the darker areas. So I just speckled all over the dark areas with this dark green, and that adds a lot of texture. For this drawing, the markers are just a base layer. They're the base color. They bring out a lot more of the vibrancy that I'm looking for in the drawing, and you'll see me bring out a lot more dimension later in the drawing. So after I got my color down for the pears, then I was choosing some grays for the shadows for underneath the pears, where it's just supposed to be the table or whatever. Then I just started shading. I chose a darker gray first to go on the very bottom of the fruits, where the darkest shadow is. You see on the table in the photo where it's black, I put my darkest color there, and I basically shaded out from there. Then I took that mid-tone gray to add more dimension to the pear, and that makes the colors of the drawing a lot more cohesive to add the shadow onto the pear as well. So after that, I feel like the drawing's really starting to come together. It's starting to look a lot more dimensional with that shadow underneath and a little bit more depth brought into the actual pears themselves. And then I'm just adding a lot more detail. Apparently the gray before wasn't dark enough for me, so I just made it a little bit darker. And this is the point where I start with the ultra fine point marker. A lot of the character of the drawing comes out with this marker, so I like to do an outline. At least that's what I've been doing. You don't have to put an outline if you don't want to. But for this drawing that I'm trying to do here, I really like an outline. I really think it solidifies it. So I'm just outlining both pears and the stems. If you don't like outlines, you really don't have to do it. I just think it makes it look very official and really was the style I'm looking for. Then after I was done with the outline, I started adding hash marks on the pears. Now I was trying to keep my hash marks to the same shape as the pears. You don't really want to make the hash marks going opposite directions. I'm trying to kind of round them out, and curving the marker when you make the marks really helps suggest to your eye the shape a lot more. So that's why I always go in on an angle when I do these hash marks, and I try to keep them kind of going around the shape. So I just add a general layer of hash marks around some lighter areas where there's shadow. Then as I go into the deeper and deeper shadows, I just add another layer only in those areas. Each time I add a hash mark, I like to change the direction it goes while still trying to sort of keep the shape. Now, you don't see me going horizontally across the pears, and if I did do that, I would probably echo the shape of the outline. Then when I did the hash marks on the shadows under the pears, I just went slightly outside of my original markings, and then for each layer of darkness, I just brought the hash marks in a little bit further, and I changed the directions of the hash marks each time. Once I was done with the marker, I picked up a white color pencil and I just colored in all the highlighted areas. Having the white colored pencil over top of this bright yellow really helps wash it out a little bit, makes it a little bit more realistic while still stylized. You can still see my pencil markings, you can still see the texture of the marker and the pencil, and I really like that about drawing like this. It's a lot more looser and freer than other types of drawings I've done. Once I was done with the white, I thought it looked a little bit too washed out for me, so I went in with a more vibrant green over top of that, just to add a little bit more shading. It's just whatever you think looks good. I wanted to layer on top of the white and blend everything a little bit better. I wanted to lighten up some of my darker areas a little bit more to add more dimension. And this helps bring the pencils, and it helps blend in the colors of the marker with the colors of the pencil. Now, I've been really loving drawing in this sort of style. It's really expressive and really edgy, a lot more freeing. This drawing I think only took about an hour for me to do, while some of my other fruits have taken up to 3 hours. So it's a lot of fun to just throw color on paper and put an outline on it, instead of laboring for 15 hours on the same drawing. Not that I don't like that, it's just a lot of fun to produce something very quickly, you know? So once I'm done all of my shading and I like the colors, I sign it and yippee, I'm all done. Please leave a comment down below, let me know what sort of fruit you'd like to see me draw next. Any object you'd like to see me draw, I'd be happy to draw it for you guys. Also, please like and share, that really helps me out. You can share these fruity drawings with your friends. Super fun over here, we can draw anything you want. I'll draw you later. Bye bye.